All right, now that we know how to find the distance between two endpoints, we want to use that for a change in elevation or a change in distance. Okay, so if you are going, above sea level to below sea level, or even temperatures, how can we figure out how much something is moving? So, oops, scroll up here a little more. Distance is positive. Okay, distance is positive. So we're not worried so much what direction we're going in, it's positive. So a change in elevation or temperature may be positive or negative depending on whether it's increasing or decreasing. But we don't usually say it's positive or negative. We say, oh, it's increased, or we decreased, or we rose, or we fell. But we're going to still use this idea right here, okay? The P minus Q and the absolute value of it. So a hiker starts hiking at the beginning of a trail, which is 200 feet below sea level. We got to identify that. What integer is that? Well, if it's below sea level, we're going to say it's negative 200. He hikes to a location that is 580 feet above sea level. So that's just 580. What is the vertical distance between them? Okay, so if we were doing this on a number line, okay, really rough number line, okay, we'll say that that's 580. That's 0. This is a negative 200. Okay, so how far apart are they? Now, instead of drawing that number line, but a visual helps me. I can say, well, it's 200 to get to 0, and then another 580. But what we can do is we can use that P minus Q thing, right? I can say negative 200 minus 580 and take the absolute value of that. So keep, change, and don't forget the second change. And don't forget to write the right numbers in. Now we follow our rules. If they're same signs, we add them together and keep the common sign. So 200 plus 580, I believe, hopefully, is 780. And the absolute value of a negative 780 is a positive 780 because distance is positive. Okay, so it's 780 feet. What does that mean? Now, if they start at negative 200 feet and they end up 580 feet above sea level before they stop for lunch, how can we interpret that? Well, we can say he or she, I'll just say he hiked 780 feet up, or his hike rose 780 feet. Okay, but that word up or anything is what is going to tell us the context of the problem. We're not going to say positive. We're going to give it a direction. Okay, so again, we're just using that P minus Q in absolute value to find the change in elevation in this case. So now let's look at this one. After lunch, the hiker hiked back down the trail from the point of elevation. So he was at 580 feet above sea level, and then he ended up at negative 200 feet below sea level. What is the vertical distance? Well, if we look at after lunch, the hiker, hiked back down the point of elevation. So he went down from here to here. Whoa, that's a bad arrow. Sorry. Let me just get rid of that. What is the vertical distance? Well, let's just do the same thing. Do you think it's going to matter if we go the other direction? Again, positive 580, negative 200. So if I go 580 minus, it's always minus, negative 200, keep, change, negative becomes a positive. We get the absolute value of, guess what, 780, which still equals 780 feet. But this time, he didn't hike up that way. He was coming back down. So we would say there was change in elevation was 780 feet down or decreased or something like that. Okay, that's how we're not saying negative because that wouldn't make sense in this case. Okay, so again, we're using that P minus Q, that absolute value of the two endpoints to figure out distance. Okay, find the change in temperature if it rises from negative 18 degrees Fahrenheit to 15 degrees Fahrenheit. And we can use a number line, but let's try to do it without. Negative 18 minus 15, keep, change, change. And I'm going to go over again our rules. Same sign, add them. Ignore the negative and add them. So that becomes 33. Keep the common sign. If they're both negative, that's negative. And so the absolute value of a negative 33 is 33 degrees Fahrenheit. But what does that mean? Okay, well, the temperature rose 33 feet. 33 degrees Fahrenheit. Back to elevation. What is the change in? When you see those words, guys, that needs to be a hint. We're going to be looking for distance between. How much is something changing? So we're going from 140 feet above sea level, that's a positive 140, to 40 feet below sea level, that's a negative 40. So when it says change in, absolute value signs, subtracting, don't lose a negative because there's a minus sign there. Change our subtraction to addition, keep, change, change. This time, negative 40 becomes positive. Same sign, add them together. And our change in elevation is 180 feet. So the change was we rose 180 feet. With a lot of things, don't overthink it. When we're trying to find the distance between something, especially when we're going from negatives to positives, because if we start here at negative 18, we have to hit 0 and then add 15 onto that. So it's not just so easy between the 18 and 15. We got to take into account that we're going from a negative to a positive or positive to a negative. Easy way to do that is to use our change in formula, or the formula we have for finding the distance between two endpoints.